Imagine taking 5 cents from every dollar your country earns in a year and dedicating it to defense. That's the new reality after NATO's 2025 summit in The Hague. The alliance agreed to a 5% GDP defense spending target, more than double the old benchmark, signaling a dramatic shift from post-Cold War optimism to anxious preparation. This isn't just about generals and politicians, it affects everyone, from taxes to social services. The Hague Defense Investment Plan allocates trillions to military hardware and infrastructure, fundamentally reshaping national priorities. Leaders cite Russia's aggression and China's rise as justification, declaring the era of the peace dividend over. The question, will this massive investment deter threats and secure peace, or escalate tensions and fuel a new arms race? The world changed in June 2025, and the consequences are only beginning to unfold. We're entering a new, uncertain, and far more expensive age of global security. To grasp the weight of NATO's 2025 decision, we need to understand its roots. Born in 1949 to counter Soviet expansion, NATO's core promise, an attack on one is an attack on all, kept the peace through the Cold War. After the Soviet collapse, NATO didn't dissolve. It expanded east, welcomed new democracies, and shifted to crisis management and peacekeeping. The alliance intervened in the Balkans and responded to 9/11s, evolving into a global security force. But Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and the 2022 invasion of Ukraine snapped NATO back to its original mission, defending Europe from Moscow. Today, with 32 members, NATO faces a more complex world: rising China, disruptive tech, and internal divisions. Its purpose has come full circle, from Cold War defense to global crisis management, and now, back to deterring a resurgent Russia. The alliance must now navigate a multipolar reality, where threats are numerous and the path forward is anything but clear. The 2025 summit marks a return to hard power, but the challenges are more tangled than ever. NATO's future will be defined by how it adapts to this new era. The 2025 NATO summit in The Hague projected unity, but beneath the surface, deep divisions simmered. The 5% defense pledge made headlines, but the summit's main session was rushed. Leaders had less than 5 minutes each, leaving little room for real debate. The resulting declaration was brief, securing the spending target but dodging tough issues like a new Russia strategy, or the growing Russia-China-Iran-North Korea axis. The summit became more about optics than substance, revealing cracks in the alliance's foundation. The US push to confront China clashed with Europe's focus on Russia, and Secretary General Rutte's deference to President Trump papered over, rather than resolved, these rifts. The Hague summit will be remembered for its historic spending pledge, and for exposing the alliance's unresolved contradictions. NATO's unity is now more fragile than its leaders care to admit. The question remains, can the alliance turn headlines into real strategy? Russia's war on Ukraine once dominated NATO's agenda, but the 2025 summit marked a stark shift. The final statement barely mentioned Ukraine, omitting past promises of support and NATO membership. This silence signaled a US-driven pivot. Europe must now take the lead on Russia, as America focuses on China. President Zelensky's reduced role underscored Ukraine's fading priority. The promised new Russia strategy was dropped, leaving NATO without a clear doctrine for countering Moscow. Allies remain divided on how to confront Russia, and the alliance's unity is increasingly in question. For Ukraine, the summit was a bitter disappointment. Security guarantees now seem more distant than ever. The West's resolve appears to be wavering, replaced by strategic ambiguity. NATO's silence on Ukraine and Russia reveals a fracturing consensus on Europe's security future. While Russia was the unspoken crisis, China was the real driver behind NATO's 5% pledge. US officials warned of China's military buildup in support for Russia, but the final summit declaration omitted any mention of Beijing. This omission was the price for European support. Many allies are wary of antagonizing their top trading partner. The result, a massive rearmament justified by the China threat but with no official acknowledgement. The US wants NATO to become a global alliance, projecting power into the Pacific while Europe remains focused on Russia. The alliance is rearming at breakneck speed, but without consensus on its true adversary. NATO's scope is expanding, but its strategy is muddled. The silence on China leaves the world guessing about the alliance's real intentions. Is NATO preparing for global conflict or just papering over its divisions? The Hague summit reignited an old debate. Does peace come from strength or diplomacy? NATO leaders argue that massive rearmament is a necessary deterrent. If you want peace, prepare for war. They see the 5% pledge as insurance against aggression, not a step toward conflict. Critics warn this arms buildup could spark a new global arms race, making the world less safe. They argue that true security requires diplomacy and arms control, not just military might. The summit offered no new peace initiatives, focusing solely on rearmament. This choice shapes the world's future, prioritizing confrontation over cooperation. The debate isn't settled. The alliance simply chose a side. Now the world waits to see if this gamble will secure peace or fuel new dangers. The 5% defense pledge isn't just a number, it's a choice that will reshape daily life for millions. Every dollar spent on defense is a dollar not spent on healthcare, education, or infrastructure. To fund this buildup, governments will likely raise taxes and cut social programs. The peace dividend of the past is gone, replaced by a security tax. Defense spending will create jobs, but may divert resources from innovation and drive up costs across the economy. Inflation could rise as governments compete for materials, raising prices for everyone. The real cost will be measured in both money and the social fabric of NATO countries. Is national strength measured by tanks or by schools and hospitals? The 5% pledge forces societies to confront what they value most. The 2025 rearmament plan and global divisions have many asking, are we entering a new Cold War? The parallels are clear. A US-led alliance faces off against Russia and a rising China. But today's world is more complex. Unlike the old Cold War, the West and China are economically intertwined, making decoupling far more painful. The conflict now spans cyber attacks, disinformation, and tech competition, blurring the line between peace and war. Today's world is multipolar, with powers like India and Brazil pursuing their own interests. The risk of miscalculation is higher, and the old rules no longer apply. The new Cold War, if it exists, is fought on economic, technological, and informational fronts as much as military ones. The alliances are less stable, the threats more diffuse. We're hearing echoes of the past but navigating uncharted territory. The stakes, and the uncertainty, are higher than ever. The 2025 NATO summit has set the West on a path of massive rearmament, reshaping economies and societies. This shift will affect taxes, public services, and the stability of the world we leave to future generations. Leaders argue that overwhelming strength is the best way to deter conflict and protect democracy. But critics warn that building a mighty shield may also forge a sword, provoking the very arms race it seeks to prevent. The real question: will this gamble secure peace or make war more likely? The summit's confident declarations can't answer that. The world must now live with the consequences of this historic bet. Only time will reveal whether we've built a shield for peace or a sword for war.